Hello, my name is Brad Martineau, founder of Sixth Division and Plus This and creator of the Smooth Scaling System. And on my episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, I discuss how to business adult and how we can get to business adulting by designing intentionally the business that we actually want rather than one that we just wake up one day and unfortunately have, and the most important skill set you can develop as an entrepreneur in order to do that.
And hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here. I am the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, and I want to welcome you to today's episode where we discuss how to navigate strategy and spirituality to achieve time and financial freedom. Truly successful people have learned how to master both, a clear intention and a strategy to execute that in a spiritual practice that will help them to stay in alignment and on purpose. Please enjoy the show and listen to what our guest today has to say about this very topic.
Welcome back. Beate Gillette here, the host of the Business Growth Architect. Today, I'm talking to somebody I've known for a long time, or known about for a long time, but didn't know until now I know him better. Brad Martineau is with us from the Sixth Division. Brad, I'm really excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Excellent. So for somebody who does not know who you are or has never heard about you, will you tell us who you are and what problem do you solve for your clients?
So my name is Brad Martineau. First and foremost, married just past the 24-year anniversary. So we celebrated our Kobe Bryant anniversary last week. I got 5 kids, a granddaughter, and a son-in-law. I love basketball and I love wearing fitted hats. So that's like the personal side. The problem that we solve is we help people that are trying to use automation build a fully automatic business in their client journey. So whether it's like the Keep or the High Level or the Active Campaign tools, the CRMs and the automation, they're trying to make sense of them and they've got way too many ideas that are all over. The tech's a mess and it's all over. They don't feel like they're in control. They can't actually see what's working in their business. We make all that super easy. And the whole goal of that is that if we can dial in the client journey, that is the core element that then leads to something we're going to talk about today, which is the ability to build a smooth scaling business. So, which is the business that you want rather than just the one that you end up one day waking up and be like, oh, well, this is what I got.
I want to talk about the smooth idea of yours. So most of the time, and I talk about this extensively, people that want to start a business go Google some guru online, and then they come to some of the well-known internet marketers, like all this language that we're now really, really familiar with. And then they look at what they offer and they say, speaking from stage sounds really good. Online courses sound really good. Funnels sound really good. And next thing, 3 years later, they have bought, $50,000, $60,000 worth of stuff, and they still don't have a business. Tell me what's going wrong most of the time.
Okay, so if we're talking about people that buy a bunch of stuff but then don't have a business, they're skipping the first phase of building a business, in particular building a smooth scaling business. I call it the prove it phase. And in the prove it phase, you need nothing fancy. You don't really need any courses. You don't need much of anything. What you need is a group of people that you want to help that has a problem that they want to solve and are capable of paying to solve. And then you got to go figure out how to get in front of them, but you don't need a funnel to go get in front of people. So the prove it phase is literally about proving there's this group of people. I can get in front of them. I can get them to give me some amount of money and I can deliver a thing that makes them happy to some degree. We're just proving that in the most raw, unrefined, unpolished, unautomated, unfunneled, unfancy, unperfected way possible. It literally is just like raw brute force. Can I go make this happen? So you don't need all the courses for that. You just need to go find the people, pick up the phone and call them. You just have to prove, hey, I can get in front of these people and I can say a thing that will get them to listen and then I can get them to give me money. And I've done it with enough consistency over the last couple of months, like, okay, there's something here. Then we'll go stack other stuff. But until then, like in the context of a smooth scaling business, like we haven't actually proven that we have something worth scaling. We haven't proven that we have something worth putting a funnel around. We haven't proven that we have something worth spending the time, the energy, the money, the stress, and all of that of going to speak or whatever. So we're trying to do it in small scales to prove it first, because anything else that we do it's a gamble. And in a lot of cases, it's a waste. So for me, it's if I have an idea, how fast and cheaply and quickly can I prove that anybody cares? And then once I've proven it, now I've actually earned the right to start thinking about, okay, well, now how am I going to automate, refine, perfect, improve this, scale this? But first, you got to actually prove that anybody
All
cares.
right. So I want to make this really tangible. So what's happened, and I've talked about this on this podcast, is I lost everything in the Palisades fire. And now with the clean slate that I have no award, no tear sheet. I have very little processes and systems the way I used to do things. I mean, I have my online stuff and my automation, but what's happening is as I've gotten sort of older and wiser in the way I do things, I have recently, over the last year, had more people ask me, can you give me everything you created? Instead of just teaching me how to run my business, can you give me everything you've created? The strategic facilitation outlines, the workbooks, so that I can do what you do with my clients. My first reaction, Brad, was, you want my IP? Absolutely not. And then my second thought was, maybe there's something here. So following your format, what would you tell someone like me that now says, well, I have this business, it's done whatever it's done, but I feel that there is a different level to it that I now need to create. How do I prove a concept? How do I build this subscription model? So the idea is to have 3 different subscription models, very classic kind of funnel membership model. But obviously we want to start with the first one. So how do I get my head around this to say there's a new idea, and how do I do my proof of concept on this new idea other than people told me that they want it?
Okay, great question. And I think the first thing to consider, and this will be really important for anybody that is either trying to start a business or finds themselves in a situation like you, which is like, I'm at this inflection point where there were a lot of things that I used to think and believe about how this business had to be run, that in your case, a fire literally deleted all of them. So it's like, hey, I have a blank slate. I can decide to do whatever I want. And there will be other people that for other reasons in that same point of like, all right, maybe what I've been doing is not the thing that I want to keep doing. And then for anybody that is just kind of running their business, this would be a really good time to stop and be like, am I actually running the business that I want? Or should I just create my own inflection point where I'm going to stop and be like, okay, let me make sure that the trajectory that I'm on will lead to and have me end up with the business that I actually want. So the very first thing that I would say for anybody to do is you define the return that you want. And I've created a tool, I call it the return document. Just really quickly, I'll go through the basic elements of it here, because I think this is the very first step. Before we get into deciding what the business is going to look like, is we decide what do we want to get out of the business. I believe that the business's first job, first and foremost, is to return to the business owner what the business owner wanted in the first place. Most people get into business and they think that the first job is to deliver value to the clients. It's not. It's how you get your return is that you deliver value to the clients. But the first thing is, if you have a business and you're delivering crazy value to clients, but you're not getting the return that you want, or it's not returning the value back to you, that's not a winning business. That's not the way that it works. So the way we define the return there's 3 questions that I like to get really, really clear on. And what we're defining is, what are the 3 elements of return that we want? And I believe there's only 3 currencies we can actually get. It's time, energy, and money. So what we're going to get really clear about is, before I go build the infrastructure of this business, I'm going to get clear on the type of time that I want it to afford me and how much time it can take for me. I'm going to get really clear on what I want to spend my energy doing, meaning what is my role going to be in this business? What do I want to do? What do I want it to be? What do I want it to look like? And then the third piece is, and then monetarily, like, where does it need to sit in order for this thing to actually work for me? So I'm just going to draw a quick picture here as we go through this. So I look over here and we have return. And what I'm thinking is, as we look at this, is there's time. So we'll just do time here, and then energy, which would be a smiley face. And then we got money right here. And this, when we define this right here, this becomes the litmus test for any decision that we're eventually going to make in our business over here. So you got a lot of questions that come up in business. Should I do this? Should I do that? And my first question that I'm going to ask, or the first thing I want to look at is, well, the decision I'm about to make over here in the business, does it align to the return that I wanted, that I said that I wanted? So a couple of simple questions that we can run through as we look at this. We'll just jump into here. When I look at time, what I'm looking at is, like, how much do I want to be working in this? Do I work weekends? Do I work at night? Am I traveling? Like what is this going to require of me from a time standpoint? And I tend to start with this when I go through this with people. I'll just say, look, just kind of like define your ideal week. And keep in mind, by the way, we're trying to do like 80%ish. So if you can get to 80% of your ideal week, that works great. So when do you want to start? Are you a morning person or are you an afternoon? Like I love to start really early. And then I also love to be done early. So I'm up at 4:30. I've got a whole thing that I go through. I do all my work basically before our company starts having meetings at like 8. I do basically most of my work for the company. But that's the way that I work because I'm building a business that works for me. So just be really clear about what do you want your schedule to look like. And then you're going to decide a whole bunch of things in the business based on what you want there. So time is one that you decide. So I'm going to go through this one by one, but I'll just stop. Any thoughts or any questions as we go through this
I
that
love
might come
this.
up
So yeah,
for you?
so the time is what I'm noticing for myself is like you, I have a grandchild. And now with a grandchild, suddenly time is a lot more valuable than it used to be. Because if I have time, I rather do a FaceTime with my granddaughter or go visit and play or go to the playground. Because when I raised my daughter, I was a single mom. I feel like I couldn't do a lot of these really relaxed things because I was always stressing out to make the money and build my business. But now that I can be a grandparent, that is very important. What I want to add is that time also changes, that it's okay to maybe say, I'm willing to put 2 years of this in at this amount of time, but then the goal has to be to scale it down because then that's what I want to get out. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, the goal. So yes, the point is this is going to change, and this is something that you revisit frequently to make sure because your target's going to change. You're going to change. Your dynamics of your life are going to things are going to change. It'll become whatever you want it to become. Which it might mean that it scales down. It might mean that it's like, well, right now I'm in this time period where I don't have as much time, but later I want to spend more time. The point is you're building a business that you actually love. And so you should just be clear. And this is where it's really important. You started off by saying, yeah, we come in, we hear all the gurus and they say this and this and this. You have to be really careful to not let what the gurus are saying sound like it's a definitive universal truth that then you adopt as if it's your own thing that you really want. The only reason why you're doing it is because you heard Ryan Dice or Alex Hormozy or whoever I go down the list, because you heard somebody like, yo, that's the thing that you should do. You're like, oh, I got to do that. No, you don't. You can do whatever you want. You could go live in a cabin in the mountains and not do any of the things that they say. And I'm not saying you should go do that, but you have to actually have the courage to be like, no, this is what I want. So a couple of things about deciding time, and then these will also apply when we talk about energy and money. And then we can move on to what that looks like when we get into the business. So if we flip back over here, one is this 80% concept. In everything we're doing, it's like, if I can get in that ballpark, then I already won. So I don't need to beat myself up. It's like, oh, well, I wanted to work Monday through Friday, but I wanted to be done at 3:00 in the afternoon so I could pick up my kids. But one day, this 1 week, I had to stay until 5. That's fine. Like you're doing pretty dang good. Like let's be okay with that, right? So it's about 80%. It's getting into that ballpark. Number one. Number two, you got to be practical with this. And really what I mean by this is you have to be real. When I did this for the first time, so I have 5 kids. They were all younger. And I was like, all right, I'm going to define this schedule. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a quarterly vacation with my kids. I wanted to go on 2 trips with my wife. I had all these things I wanted to do. And then I said, wait a minute. I have 2 daughters that are in competitive dance. And if anybody has been in competitive dance or had kids in competitive dance, you're already laughing at where this is going.
I was laughing because I know you have no weekends.
There is no exaggeration. There was one calendar week from the moment the girls are the oldest, from the moment they started competitive dance at about the age of 10 or 12, we had 1 week a year where there was nothing happening. And it was in July. That was the only time we were doing a family vacation. So there has to be an element of this being real, not, oh, well, I want to take all these vacations again, because I heard other people talking about it. It's like, no, I am actually applying this in my real life with my real situations right now, which for me right now is, I've got 2 kids at home. One of them's about to leave and serve a mission for our church. The other one plays basketball. So like basketball season's locked out. And then I have a granddaughter in Utah. So there's an element of like my life that is, all right, well, I need time to go up there. I don't really care about week-long vacations. I want to be in Utah about every other week or every 3 weeks, really every day if I ask my wife. But right. So like my time revolves around what I actually want in my life right now. So it has to be real, has to be practical. And then the last thing for me that I always try to keep in mind as I'm looking at this is this one of, I call it the floor, not the ceiling. What we're defining is not, it'll never get better than this. We're defining this is the floor, meaning this is what it takes for this to be acceptable and give me a return. but I'm actually trying to beat it. So from a time standpoint, I might say, hey, I'm cool to work, or what I want to work is I'll work 8 hours a day. Let's just say it's 8 hours a day. I want to start at 5 in the morning and be done at 1, and that works for me. It could be 4 hours a day, whatever you want it to be. The point is, I'm not saying that I'm never, ever, ever going to make my business be where I could work less. I'm just saying that's the target. And until I get there, like, I'm not really satisfied. Like, that's what I'm working towards. And I want to, in anything I'm doing, I want to leave enough buffer that once I hit that target, I could still go beyond it. So it's floor. You just want to think floor, not ceiling on all of these. Okay. So number 1 is time. And you should write down, like, literally just write out what your schedule looks like. This is what it looks like on a weekly basis. I probably start about this time. I'm done about this time. These are the days I'm working. These are the days I'm not working. Generally speaking, I'm not traveling. I'm not working on the weekends. Whatever it is, just decide what it is that works for you with your schedule. I've also found it to be really helpful for you to then write why. Why is that the schedule that you want? Because there's going to be a time when you're tempted to cheat on your own goals. And you need to be able to look at why and be like, oh no, that's why I decided to do this.
Those are the excuses. Yes.
So
It's very easy, I find, that people are okay sitting down and making these goals, and then life happens. And then they go, well, it's probably best if I don't go on that trip. It's too exhausting. And then they'll talk.
Or I've got this really important project and I didn't want to work after 3, but it's really, really important. So it'll be okay because my kids are going to watch a movie anyway. So I'll just kind of let them go watch a movie rather than hang with my kids while I slip into the back room. Not that I'm speaking from personal experience or anything, but I'll just go sneak in the back room and I'll do a little bit of extra work. Or they'll put a movie on. We're going to watch it as a family, which normally we wouldn't do during the week, but I'm going to agree to it because I know we can watch it. And I can sit over here on my laptop and not really be engaged, even though that's what I said that I wanted to do from the very beginning. And rather than me be more organized in my work time, I'm less organized in my work time, and I'm having an affair on what I said I actually wanted for my time in the first place.
And that is, I think, that's part discipline, and that is part to say, what if I have to keep my word? If I don't keep the word that I give to myself, it can have catastrophic consequences. So talk to me about, how do you keep your own word? How do you hold yourself accountable when nobody's watching?
Okay. So it's a muscle, I believe. I believe it's a muscle. And just like any muscle, it has to be worked out. I believe it's the most important muscle. So what I did, and this is what I've continued to do that has worked really, really well for me, is the first step is I forgave myself for ever having not done what I said I was going to do. Now, that may sound weird to some people, but it's actually it did to me. I sat down and I free flow just wrote. It's in my journal. I have yet to go back and read this journal entry without getting emotional, but I just went down and I said, I forgive myself for boom. And anything that just came to me, I just wrote it down. I flowed out anything that's like, I forgive myself. Yeah, I didn't do it, whatever. Now we're moving forward. So I think that's the critical first step. Number 1. Number 2, you start to rep the muscle of winning, where winning means you do what you say you're going to do, which also means if you are not 100% confident you're going to do it, don't say it. And you actually get really good at being like, no, I'm not going to commit to that. So, and you start like crazy simple. So here's what it was for me. The thing I started with was I am going to wake up at a particular time every morning. It wasn't that it was the same time every morning. It was that I was going to wake up earlier than I wanted to. And that as soon as I got up, there was no debating or questioning or thinking about going back to sleep. So I moved my alarm. My alarm is 15 feet away from my bed. So I wake up, I have to go turn off my alarm. By that time, like my brain has woken up enough to be like, okay, I'm awake and I know what I committed to. I also set my alarm. Do you know who Eric Thomas is? The hip hop preacher, motivational speaker? Phenomenal. He's got a clip, and in the clip he says, most of you say you want to be successful. You don't actually want to be successful that bad, or something like this. He says, you don't even want to be successful more than you want to sleep. So he's got this clip. I took that clip. I made it a song in my phone. It is my alarm when I wake up every morning. And literally right about the time I get to my alarm, I hear the line, most of you don't want to be successful as bad as you want to sleep. And I was like, so every morning it's just this reminder, like, okay, I'm up. So that's what it started with, was I'm just going to wake up and I'm not going back to bed. And admittedly, for the first couple of days I was awake, I'm like, I don't even know what to do, but I can't go back to sleep. So I just kind of found something to keep myself busy. Because the reason why I was doing it was not about some morning formula routine. It was about developing the muscle that if I said I was going to wake up, I'm waking up. And so for me, The only time I'll sleep in, like last night, I went to bed really late. I didn't get to bed till after midnight. So I woke up later than I normally did by about a half an hour. So the reason why I do it is because it's a daily rep of the muscle of I will do whatever I say that I'm going to do. And then it progressed. So there's one other piece of this that I think is important. It progressed. And I was like, I'm going to work out. So during COVID, I built a gym in my garage. So I have stuff to work out at home. Like, all right, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to work out. And so I started to do that. Now, here's where it got really important, that you have to make sure that you don't say you're going to do something you're not going to do. Otherwise, it undermines all the progress. It's like, all right, what can I do that I know I'll work out in the morning? And I'm like, I got to go upper body. If I start by telling myself I'm going to wake up on my own at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to go out and I'm going to do squats or lunges or whatever, there is no way I'm going to do it. Like, I'm just really clear that I am not at the point where I've developed that muscle enough to make myself do that. So I started for like the first probably 3 or 4 months. It's like, I'm going to get up and I would do chest and back one day, and then I would do shoulders and arms another day. But I'm going to get up and I'm going to go work out. And it wasn't until like 3 or 4 or 5 months later, I'm like, all right, it's time to start doing legs. And then, because I wanted to make sure that I did what I was saying I was going to do, I didn't do legs at home. I went back to my trainer I used to go to that did all the stuff with my legs. And I said, I'm coming back. These are the days that I'm coming. So you then engineer the game so that you win, which is you always do what you say you're going to do. And you only say things that you're going to do. And then you start to build the muscle, and then you do it on purpose so that you build the muscle, so that you are consciously repping that, which means that your confidence will grow in your ability to make yourself do something, which means now it's like, hey, I get home and my kids want to do something. It's like, no, I can actually set that aside because I built the muscle to have the integrity with the thing that I said that I wanted in the first place.
I think it's one of the single most important things for us is to build our own integrity muscle. And people overcommit all the time, and people are not aware that the day has 24 hours. I have a program that I did where I help people to actually just take a calendar and put down in a weekly calendar on what they said they wanted. Quality time with their kids every day, one-on-one time with their partner, working out, quiet time, working 8 hours, sleeping 8 hours, and then they already ran out of time 4 hours ago. And the reason why people get so stressed out is because they have a lack of understanding on what is possible in a 24-hour period of time. So how do you set priorities? If you build a business that allows you to smooth sail, you're going to have to make actual decisions that come from your heart, that come from what matters to you most. Then you have to put a strategy behind it to first say, if I have to make a decision on building the strategy and how to get there, that starts with my own personal integrity. But now I'm running into that I want to, again, overcommit. So how do you pull yourself back, Brett, and say, that it's just not humanly possible to do this much in a day?
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me just go back to this real quick. You actually called it out and described it perfectly. So over here is you. Anything you do in your business has to align to who you are as a person, number one. Then number two, before we start making decisions over here in the business, we want to get really clear on what this looks like. And remember this line right here about being practical. So the exercise that you just talked about, which is let's just go look at your calendar right here. Let's go look at that. And let's see what on earth is happening in here. So if we put a calendar, as you start to decide what you want, we're not doing this exercise in a generic format where it's like, oh yeah, and then I want to never work on the weekends or whatever. We're actually filling out the calendar. We're budgeting your time. And then you stop and you look and be like, okay, is that realistic? Based on like, I can't come over here and be like, all right, I want a $1 billion business, but I want to work 1 hour a week. Like, what I'm going to do over here in the business has to match with what I'm willing to put into the business and what I see it going, like what it's going to take. So the answer is that as you go look at this, and then as we get into the role and as you get into your financial things that you want, you have to get clear on whether this is actually practical. It's exactly what I went through, and I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to go get. It's like, wait a minute, I can't do that because of my kid's schedule. I don't have enough time. So you have to make the pieces fit. If they don't fit on paper, they're not going to magically fit in real life. So if you can't lay out what your schedule is going to look like, then it's not going to magically fit in real life. So as you in the business, as you go to start making decisions about what you're going to commit to, what you're going to do, it always has to then come back to, you got to stop and actually look at your calendar and be like, all right, is this something that I can actually fit into my calendar? You got to also ask, is this something that aligns with who I am as a person? If we come back to this, right? Does this decision align to the calendar that I want? Does it align to the role that I want in the business and the things I want to be doing? Does it align to the money I want to make? Does it align to the person that I want to be? So this over here, this is more about your identity. So this is more about your identity, and this is more about the actual logistics of what the business is going to return to you. Every decision we make over here, it has to line up to that. And if not, then you're kidding yourself. And the reason why it goes time, let that go away. The reason why it goes time and then energy or your role and then money is because the most common thing that you're going to probably make a sacrifice for is your brain's going to tell you that you're not going to make the money you want or all the money's going to go away. Money's last on purpose. Because if you start with money and that becomes the overarching priority, you'll sacrifice your time, you'll sacrifice your role, you'll sacrifice everything else. So we put money at the end to be like, no, this is the type of person I want to be. This is what I want my schedule to be. This is what the role I want it to be. And then we'll get to money at the end so that it doesn't become the thing that makes me cheat on everything else.
Yeah, it's like business adulting. That's what I'm.
And we talked about like the most important muscle is that you have integrity and that you can be disciplined. The other half of that equation, though, is that you have to know what you're being disciplined to, which is why the return is so important. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I can make myself do stuff. It's like, yeah, but do you know what you actually want to? I want to make intentional decisions in my business. I want to make intentional decisions over here that make this
I love
happen.
it.
And I have to know what this is, because this arrow right here, this is the filter of like, all right, I'm going to do this decision because I believe it's going to make this happen. But if I don't have this over here to vet it against, then I'm just making decisions over here, and then I just get whatever happens to come out. It's not an intentional decision in here to make that be the case.
So what I'm hearing from you, Brett, is that it is business adulting. That's, I think, I can sum up this episode in 2 words. Is that stop buying what other people are selling without having even looked at it on whether or not it works for you based on some very simple criteria. And then commit and then be in integrity with your own decision. What do we need to warn people about where you say, you are on the right track if this happens when you follow my model?
So I think the first thing, so warn about / be aware of. I think the very first thing, and it goes to exactly to what you're saying, is that all of this all comes back down to your personal development and who you are, and then who you're becoming as a person. So if there's any part of you that is hoping that you can just make a decision in the business, and then it's going to magically solve all of your return currencies, but you're still going to be this sort of scared person over here, you're wrong. It's not the way it works. You can ask anybody. Business is the ultimate personal development game. It is going to make you develop, and it ought to be the thing that you're chasing after the most. So one thing that is like be aware of, the first and the foremost, is your business will never outgrow your capacity to lead it, ever. I've tried multiple times. Your business cannot outgrow your capacity to sit at the helm and to lead it. So it will only go as far as you grow. So the game we're actually playing is personal development, personal growth, and you becoming the business adult. And then all of the other things that are out there for you in the universe that God has in store for you, that would, like, all the reasons why I put you here, they just sit on the other side of you growing.
Yeah. And and to that point, and we had talked about it when we were in the green room earlier. So when we're building these businesses, these purpose-driven businesses, or this integrity-based business, finding out what you want is the single most important thing. And then you have to just trust. And finally, as we're closing this, what do you tell people when they're losing faith, when it gets really tough?
That's a great question. I believe that I'm probably going to butcher this. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure people that are watching this have seen it, but it says, hard times create tough people. Tough people create easy times. Easy times create weak people. Weak people create hard times. Is like this cycle. When we're in the middle of hard times, it is because if we lean into it, it's because we're growing. I think maybe in our culture a little bit, maybe a lot. I think we have shifted to where our focus is more on comfort than it is on work. It's more on consumption than it is on creation. Creation is always hard. Consumption is always easy and comfortable. And so, and I don't mean like it's always hard, it's always a grind. I just mean creation takes real work. So there's always going to be something that doesn't seem like it's working or that seems like it's falling apart. I get really nervous when I feel like things are just flowing and everything is super easy. because my guess is that I'm not pushing hard enough. It means that I'm coasting. And so when we're in the middle of a hard time, it's like, well, yeah, what did you expect? You're up to something. If you weren't up to anything, you'd have no friction. If you're up to something, you're going to have friction. Welcome to the game. There was no guarantee that I was going to not have any problems or whatever. So for me, what I tell myself, what I try to tell other people is like, yeah, you're in the middle of it. This is the game. Welcome to the game. Imagine the person that you'll be when you come out the other side. And not only that, imagine the tools and the gifts that you will now have once you come out the other side that you'll be able to use to serve other people. Because without going through it, you don't get any of that. But when you go through it, you become a different person and you become equipped to help other people in a way that you otherwise never would have been able to.
What a great way to end the interview. And for somebody who now is interested in working with you to figure out how to do a smooth scaling business, where do we send them, Brett?
Best place to go would be, so I'll give a couple of ways depending on your preference. Number one, you can go to smoothscaling.co. There's a form on there you can fill out just to sign up for the email list. There's not anything else on there. Just sign up for the email list. An email will go to you from me. Hit reply and be like, yo, I saw you and I want to chat some more. Another way is you can just send me an email and be like, hey, you talked about smooth scaling stuff. I know you do some automation stuff. I want to talk about how it might work. So if you want to email me direct, you'll send an email to brad@sixthdivision.com. So it's SIXTHDIVISION.com. Just send me an email back, hey, I saw you on the podcast. Would love to chat. Here's what I got going on. So email if you just want to go direct, or you can go sign up on the form and then it will send you the email if you want to go that route. That's totally fine. And then if you want to connect on the socials or whatever, I'm on the socials.
Thank you so much. Well, Brad, it's been amazing to have you on. I think I've been in your sphere of influence, I guess, for what has been 20 years now. And it is really amazing to watch evolution, not just in yourself, but also with other people that you've seen. And I love the work that you do and really admire on how clear you are and how many people you're helping. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And that is it for us for today. Thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode. Brett was using a whiteboard. So if you can catch this show on our YouTube channel to just see some of the drawings that he did that illustrate some of the concepts a little bit further, I highly encourage you to do that. And if you are not smooth scaling or smooth sailing with your business, please, follow the advice and share it with another person who needs to hear what we shared with you today. And with that, I say goodbye.
So appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. Please subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, a comment, and share this episode with one more person so that you can help us help more people. Thank you again. Until next time. Goodbye.